name is Mateo Vitir.
My name's Ryan Gray.
And welcome to the VGC.
A.k.a. the Vitir and Gray Conference.
Now, the topic of today's podcast is going to be regarding the recent Mayweather and McGregor fight. We're going to
50-0!
We're going to be giving our general thoughts on the fight, as well as I'm going to be discussing a topic of that fight that's been rather controversial as of late.
It's not controversial. It's just
in regards to if the referee called the match too early.
Oh, come on.
Now,
oh my god.
In regards to how we felt the match went, it was widely agreed that McGregor had won the first 5 rounds,
yes,
and that the next 5 were going to be Mayweather. So they were about even for the fight.
Well, McGregor dominated the first round. The first 5 rounds, of course. And then slowly after, we saw McGregor slowed down, and Mayweather just took advantage of that.
I believe that's just because McGregor doesn't have the pace of a boxer.
Well,
so
yeah,
he doesn't know so much as to preserve himself as there's multiple rounds, right?
But just remember, he's not a boxer. As
he was professionally trained as a boxer in the beginning of his career, but he never actually fought in a boxing ring like Mayweather does. He never fought for money or professionally. He always did MMA.
Yeah, because he was a UFC fighter, and he was obviously very successful in that.
I mean, generally, even if you look at the numbers, a lot of sports sites as well, like TSN, Sportsnet, ESPN.
Everyone said Mayweather was going to win.
Not even that. I mean, yes, Mayweather did win, but if you look at the numbers that was put up by McGregor, I mean, he didn't do too bad.
No, he didn't do bad. I was watching the match, and it looked as if McGregor was going to win for the first 5 rounds, of course. It looked like time finally caught up with Mayweather, and he was about to go 49-1. Now, that being said, of course, as I just said, that doesn't always happen, and he got tired.
I mean, even looking at it from a statistical standpoint, McGregor landed 111 punches, and it's been recorded that it's 30 more than Pacquiao landed on Mayweather. And that's Manny Pacquiao, who's been fighting for a multitude of years now, in comparison to McGregor, who is his first ever professional boxing match. I mean, the numbers are in that sense.
He was a better fighter. Well, it was a better match. Sorry, let me correct myself. It was a much better match. You got a lot more for your money that time around. And let's just be honest for a minute. The Pacquiao versus Mayweather fight was absolute shit. It was. I mean,
and all those people that do criticize McGregor for running his mouth, I mean, if you don't
that's
watch,
who he is.
That's who he is in the UFC. Even when he's, the clear winner or the clear favorite to win, he still has to run his mouth because that's just his personality.
But you're also forgetting that's what makes him popular. And he's a funny guy to watch. Like, you can watch him insult people, and it's hilarious.
And, I mean, even though he was, talking smack to Mayweather and whatnot, I mean, he did have the decency.
Your name was fuck Mayweather.
Yeah, I mean, he did have the decency and respect to sort of, give him props at the end of the match. And Mayweather did as well, At the end of the day, it's just a sport, right?
It's respect.
It's just they have respect for each other. Mayweather's the best there is right now in boxing. Arguably the best.
The best right now, because that's very
best record.
No. Well, best record. Yes, he's the greatest. Statistical greatest boxer of all time, arguably the greatest boxer of all time.
Yeah, arguably, he is the best.
Yeah, he is.
McGregor is the first ever person in the UFC to hold 2 titles in 2 different weight classes. He's the first to ever do it. And even though people do criticize him for his boxing, the match, I mean, you also have to realize that this guy's never actually boxed. And his very first match is against, one of the
49-0, greatest boxer
one of the greatest
time.
Boxers of all time. So in that sense, I mean, you got to give the guy props. I mean, he did a lot better than a lot of people thought he would.
But did you watch the match last night?
I did.
It was funny because you always saw McGregor trying to use like UFC moves on him, and it was hilarious to watch.
He did get multiple warnings for using a hammer fist, and at one point he got a warning saying that if he was to continue, they would deduct a point for the entire round.
I remember that. That was.
Which, I mean, is understandable.
Funny.
I mean,
well, not funny, but
it's understandable, right? Yeah, you're fighting.
Growing pains. It's growing pains.
Yeah.
And when I saw that, I realized he's still not ready for this match.
Well, I mean, a lot of people are asking the question now, and I'll ask you, Ryan. Do you think that McGregor, shifts back to UFC, or do you think he gives boxing another chance? Outside of Mayweather, he gives someone else a fight. Like, do you think he stays in boxing and keeps training? Because I mean, like, he put up a really good fight against Mayweather. He did a lot better than people thought.
Let me tell you something. if he makes as much as everyone's saying he might make, if he's making upwards of $100 million, there's not a chance he's going to go back to the UFC and fight for Dana White for $3 million a fight.
I mean, he was projected to make, what was it, 130 million roughly? That was a rough estimate.
The minimum he was going to make was 30.
That was projected before the fight had started, but once the fight was about to begin, it was projected a rough 130 or around that.
I have no clue. I was not fully aware of the statistic. But he won't go back to the UFC to make pennies on the dollar to what he made in boxing.
Even if he made 30 million, I mean, I just as well as the next guy will get knocked out to make 30 million.
In my opinion, I think he retires
from the UFC.
I think he retires from both. I mean, there is no reason for him to put his body on the line.
I mean, he's still a young guy.
He is young, but he has nothing left to prove. And let's be honest, he's got more money right now than he can even think about spending.
And I mean, as much as, he does talk crap and, he does, harass people when he's on the podium and in the weigh-in.
But it's entertaining to watch.
It's entertaining to watch.
Let's just face it.
But, people don't look at the side story of what happens, outside of the ring or outside of the octagon, McGregor's a nice guy. He cares about his family, and all he does, whatever he does, is to support his family and him. If
Never
you got
anyone else to support him, that's what he said.
He said in multiple interviews, it's always been just him and the small group of people that he had around him, which weren't many growing up. He's always been fighting his entire life. So for him, this is the only way he sees fit to sort of survive and make a living for his family.
So what do you think he does? Do you think he goes back to the UFC, boxes, or retires?
It's a tough decision, right? I mean, even if you're looking at it from a money standpoint,
he's going to demand more money out of the UFC if he even thinks about coming back.
That is very true, but I mean, if you look at it from a money standpoint, if you're looking for the money, then you stay in boxing. But if you're looking for, sort of holding your possible legacy that you can build upon, then you go back to the UFC. But you also got to look. I mean, what does he want to do?
He's got nothing to prove. That's what my argument is.
It's all in the head of McGregor. I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, he'll make the decision that he feels is right for him and his family. But personally, I think he returns back to the UFC.
I think that would be what most people would want to see.
I mean, personally, I would want to see him back in the UFC just to fight and retire, a UFC fighter. I mean, he can always, venture in boxing on the side, when he's in between. Even when he's in between. What is he doing now? He just did boxing on the side, right? This is nothing major. Oh, it was major, but it wasn't, he didn't retire from the UFC. He's still in. This was just like a sort of step away to venture in another option. Let's
just hope that he is able to defend his championships.
I think.
Can we agree on that?
Yeah, I think we can agree on that. He's a good guy, good champ. He's a fighting champ. There's a lot of people in the UFC right now. A lot of issues with champions and having issues with steroids. Look at John Jones. The guy won the fight and then had to relinquish the title almost immediately after he tested positive for steroids.
Oh, God.
I mean, the UFC wants to keep someone like Conor McGregor. For what purpose? Just the reputation and the publicity. He brings positive attention.
He's a star.
He brings positive attention to the UFC.
The UFC needs someone like McGregor. They need a charismatic person and a face.
Someone like John Jones, while he is charismatic and he does bring attention, it's quite often the wrong attention. It's negative attention. When you got a guy who's, being testing positive for steroids and then having titles relinquished from him, it doesn't make the company look good as a whole. Yeah. I mean, even look at the Toronto Blue Jays with Chris Colabello when he tested positive for PEDs back last year. It made the organization look terrible.
And remember way back in the day when A-Rod was using pads and stuff like that. Like it's not good for sports in general.
I mean, the Yankees, even for him using his steroids, the Yankees didn't even give him a proper farewell. They kind of tossed him aside like trash. They gave Derek Jeter, the whole season, the whole farewell tour, while they kind of just said, A-Rod, you can just sit in the background and retire when you feel like you want to.
Sit in the background, and we're gonna start you for the game you decide to retire.
Well, let's try to keep on to the topic here of the Mayweather-McGregor fight.
Slightly off topic.
I'm going to start speaking now about the call that ended the match itself. Now, it's arisen, and even McGregor himself said that the ref should have just let him go down and let the fight plan out and see how it went. The referee called a TKO after McGregor was on the ropes for a second and a half. It wasn't even 2 seconds.
Oh.
One punch was thrown, and he called the TKO. And that punch didn't even land. It glazed him. Okay, it glanced him.
It still landed.
It didn't even land him completely, and the ref called the TKO. That is way too early for a TKO call. Way too early. You as a as a referee need to understand when to not overstep your boundaries. Yes, you have a responsibility to keep the fighters and the boxers in good health, but you also have to realize that if the fights can keep going, let it keep going. I mean, even look at hockey. Refs sometimes stop fights before they even begin.
Now, I agree, but I'm also going to bring up and play devil's advocate. He wouldn't have won that match. If they let him play the rest of the match, he would have been knocked out. Or next round. There was no chance of him coming back.
Regardless of him, coming back or losing, yes,
he was too tired to fight.
That's true. I'm not arguing that. I agree with that. I saw it myself. But the point is that just let it pan out. You never know. In a second, someone can dodge out of the way and land a nice good punch, and the guy goes down. You don't know. You can't call it that quickly. You need to take the time and analyze it. What are you going to analyze in a second? All you're analyzing in a second is a split-second move.
But that's the refs. The refs know best, and they get paid for it.
Do they always, though? Do the refs always know best, though? I mean, look at other sports. Do NHL refs know the best? They don't.
No, but they make better decisions than they do bad decisions. That's a fact.
This NHL season, that's not arguable.
Yeah, but this isn't about the NHL. This is about boxing.
But still, I'm just applying a comparable of refs. Refs nowadays in modern-day sports are not the greatest, hands down.
Okay, but that's also, you have to, human error. Human error is a very, very apparent thing. And it's in every sport. Basketball, football, hockey, soccer, boxing. It's in every single sport, and you can't get away from it.
Now, that's we all have different opinions, and, Ryan and I have different opinions on this.
In my opinion,
he believes that the fight was called, perfectly. I believe
I'm not saying it's called perfectly, but what I'm saying is it happened. It was perfect.
Oh, I'm not
There was
saying
nothing else to be proven. McGregor's proven that he can go toe-to-toe against the greatest boxer ever.
I think, I'm not saying that McGregor would have won. That's not what I'm saying.
No, there was no chance. Even if he got the decision, there was no way he would win.
I'm not saying necessarily that he would have won. Yes, he had a chance to win, but every person has a chance to win when you're in there. My point is that the ref called it way too early. He didn't even give him a chance to make a move. How can you call a match a TKO when he's not even being dominated?
He was getting shit on.
It was one punch. Yes, he was dazed. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, he was dazed. He
couldn't even stand up straight if he even had the opportunity to. He could not walk.
He went into the ropes for a second, and the ref called the TKO. He wasn't gone.
He fell into the ropes.
He was in the ropes for 1 second. Mayweather threw one punch, and the ref called the TKO. Now, even if you look at other fighting leagues,
Mayweather was on the ropes.
UFC, that's my point. If you, McGregor,
but he wasn't.
Listen, McGregor was on the ropes for 1 second, TKO. Mayweather was the same. Where's the TKO there? You can't apply a double standard. Look at the UFC and other fighting leagues. They don't call a TKO after a split second. They give it time to play out. When have you seen a TKO in the UFC? I mean, it's just, I find that the call was early, and I find that if that's the basis of the ending of the match, it's ridiculous. They ruined what was a great match. What was a great fight.
I don't think it was ruined. I think that match was absolutely phenomenal.
I do too, but I feel like that early call sort of ruined it. And I mean, McGregor, yes, he didn't argue it at first, but, in a later interview, he did say the ref should have just let him go down. He would rather get knocked out than feel like the ref saved him.
So what do you guys think? Leave it in the comments, and I think that's it for us right now.
Yep. What you guys will hear next is a song from Shim Fluoff. Now, we're going to be switching it from our intros to our outros now. You'll be hearing the song play when you see the little subscribe bubble, as well as the box that links you to our last video.
And please, guys, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. It would do wonders for us.
Again, all his links will be in the description down below, which includes his YouTube, his SoundCloud, and his Instagram. But that's it for me.
That's it for me, and we're signing out. My name's Ryan Gray.
My name is Mateo Vatier.
No devil, no devil, no. I won't let you block greatness, say it, I'm incredible. That's word to the holy, I'm living solely for growth. We done seen poverty, and that shelter we know.